What's going on, guys? This is Travesty here, and I am bringing you the first GBA Analysis video of this channel. I wanted to do this for a little while, but I didn't want to just jump in the middle of the season, so I figured I'll jump in now because playoffs are starting soon. In fact, start this week, and there's a bit more to talk about now because we're going into playoffs, and there's, you know, the Pokemon Awards, Coach Awards, all sorts of things. If you don't know what the GBA is, it's a sports-style Pokemon League where players draft a team of 11 pokes, and each week there'll be a set of matches. They'll counter-team each other for a 6v6 singles battle, and at the end of the season, the team with the most, well, the couple of teams with the most wins go to the playoffs. They play each other, and someone will win a championship at the end. Their links will be down in the description. I really recommend to go check out everything GBA. It's honestly the best content on YouTube that I watch. It's really interesting format. There are a lot of leagues now that are, you know, similar. They're basically all based off the GBA, and it's just a really great format to watch. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into the first playoff match, which is in the Sinnoh Conference. We have the New York Yankees and the New Orleans Pelipers. So these two teams have played once before, and the Yankees managed to win that 1-0. But the Pelipers have really been improving throughout the season. They got that free agent pickup with Sigalith, helped to deal with some of the hacks they've had to deal with. And I really feel like John, coach of the New Orleans Pelipers, will just dig his heels in this week. He is really keen for a championship after he came so close in Season 2. And I don't think he'll let Shady Penguin stand in his way. The team matchup is also in the Pelipers' favour because Kyurem Black just destroys the Yankees. Like, there are no switch-ins to that thing. It's just a monster. And if John can preserve it, can keep it from dying to a bullet punch or a sucker punch from, you know, Mega Scizor or Honchkrow, then I really think it's going to be an issue for the Yankees to try and deal with. And because of that, I'm going to predict the Pelipers to win in a close 2-0. The differential just kind of means I think it will be close. I don't think either team's going to run away with it, even though Kyurem is such a problem. It's going to be a sack-for-sack kind of thing happening. Because the same way New York has nothing for Kyurem, the Pelipers don't have much to deal with, like Mega Scizor or Honchkrow, so that could be, it's going to be a good game to watch, I'll tell you that much. So now I'm going to move on to the Hoenn Conference, where we have the Cincinnati Loudreds and the Winnipeg Aquajets. I do apologize if I misspelled Cincinnati. I don't even know where it is, honestly. My knowledge of American geography is poor at the best of times, but anyway, that's not particularly relevant because they're not actually from Cincinnati. But these two teams have played each other twice in this season. They played back-to-back weeks, and both teams won one game of those. Loudreds had a much rougher second half. They're on a 2-game slide right now. They were 5-0 at the midpoint of the season and then finished 7-3, so they've actually lost more games in the second half of the season than they won. And you'd think this would kind of kill their momentum a little bit, but the Aquajets have won 4 out of their last 5 games and have looked pretty good most of the time, but they've been a bit inconsistent. There are times when they make some questionable plays or some preparation just doesn't seem quite right, and I think that could potentially cost Hank. I don't think he's going to be able to make it all the way through the playoffs without becoming a lot more consistent, but hopefully we'll see that from him next season. The team matchup is also in the Loudreds' favour. They deal with a lot of the Aquajets' threats pretty well, like Talonflame doesn't really care about Mega Pinsir. It can't switch in, obviously, but it can revenge it really easily. Weavile is still going to be a bit of a threat. It can't really do much to an Umbreon, or probably not even an Alomomola, but if it can set up a Swords Dance, it could be a serious problem. And overall, I just think the Loudreds are going to have the upper hand in this one. I'm going to predict them to win 3-0, which means I think they're going to be able to establish control. I feel like things like Mega Manectric being able to just Volt Switch around on everything, except Excadrill, but it can carry Flamethrower for that quite easily, will pressure the Aquadettes too much, and I don't see Hank being able to pull out another win over the Loudreds. I think Malvern is just going to keep getting better and better. So, now that we've done the matches, I am going to move on to the individual awards, starting with Offensive Pokemon of the Year. So on screen you can see the candidates I'm expecting to be nominated for this are Mega Gardevoir, Mega Pinsir, Weavile, Serperior, and Hydreigon. Now Mega Gardevoir, anyone who plays OU or VGC knows that this thing is so hard to switch into. Pixelate Hyper Voice just hits like an absolute truck, and the ability to have powerful hidden powers to cover a specific mon is so useful, particularly in this kind of format. Mega Pinsir is just a monster. Hank has been using it really, really well. It got that memorable 6-0 sweep against Steve in week 2. It's, has set up a couple of times, it's been a wall breaker a couple of times, it's really put a lot of pressure on opponents for Hank. Weavile has been the best late game cleaner in this format this season. It leads the league in kills to death ratio. It's just been fantastic how Malvern's been using it. That stab priority and stab knockoff is just too much to deal with for a lot of teams. Serperior, ever since it got that hidden ability, has been one of the most threatening offensive pokes in the league. The ability to set up on its own while still firing off powerful Leaf Storms is just such a problem for a lot of teams to deal with. And Serperior is one of the biggest threats on the Mankey's teams, and it's really shown. Shady's been using it really well to show what it can do. Lastly, we have Hydreigon for the Rail Marill. It's obviously very versatile, it gets a great move pool, can be mixed or special or physical, and it's really just been a bit of a staple for Miguel. He commented on Twitter at one point, he said, "Advice for people playing in a draft type format, draft Hydreigon." Shows how much he loves it, and it's been great for him all season. But, with all that said, I think the winner of this category will be Mega Gardevoir. Now, it didn't get as many KOs as Weavile or Mega Pinsir, but it applied a lot more pressure mid-game and early game to a lot of teams. There are very few teams which actually have a reliable switch into this thing with the coverage that it can pack. And it just, a couple of games, just every time it came in, it goes, "What do you have to take this nuke?" "Nothing. Die." And that's pretty much what Mega Gardevoir does. Steve forfeited his last 2 games, and so Mega Gardevoir got no kills for either of those, and it still ended up 3rd overall for KOs. So in 8 games, it got more kills than most of the league got in 10, which is just phenomenal. It's, like I said before, it's very hard to switch into. You can say, bring a Steel type, bring a Poison type. Well, Poison types get wrecked by Psychic coverage. Steel types, you can carry HP Fire or HP Ground, depending on what it wants. It's just, there is no reliable way to deal with a Mega Gardevoir. You can revenge it, but with team support, it's just such a problem to deal with, and Steve was playing with it really well up until he forfeited. Now, I'm going to move on to the Defensive Pokemon of the Year, and the nominees I have for this one are Milotic, Hitmontop, Hippowdon, Mega Sableye, and Quagsire. Now, Milotic for the New York Yankees has been really useful insofar as being physically defensive, specially defensive, that mirror coat, all sorts of things. Hitmontop, if you talk to Old Man Top, he will tell you that this thing has been close to his MVP. It's been a lot bulkier than people sort of anticipated. It can take quite a few hits a lot better than people thought, because Intimidate, and the ability to rapid spin away those hazards, fire off Toxics. It's been very good for the Piratatas. If you don't get that joke, just go to Top's channel. It'll explain pretty much everything. Now, Hippowdon for the Rail Marill, Moto. It's one of Miguel's favourite Pokemon. He drafted it again this season, and it's been a fantastic supporter for his team. It's been either a mixed wall or a physical wall to be able to deal with every threat on the opposing team. It's just been great at packing specific coverage for things, setting up sand or not setting up sand, depending on whether it's going to be useful or not. And it's just been a really, really good wall for Miguel. Now, Mega Sableye is one of the only things on this list that has been incredibly effective both offensively and defensively. It is so hard to take down. It only has that one weakness, has a couple of really nice immunities, very, very bulky stats. It also has very respectable offensive stats, and it's a very, very hard Pokemon to deal with, honestly. And A-Drive has been using it fantastically, bringing a variety of sets. He's brought physically offensive, he's brought adamant max attack on week, he's brought physically defensive, specially defensive, he's brought Calm Mind, he's brought fully supportive. It's just been fantastic to watch A-Drive using this thing. Lastly, we have Quagsire for the Long Island Regirockies. It's pretty much been his only reliable wall. Again, it only has that one weakness, even though it is a 4 times weakness, but you make trade-offs. And the Unaware ability has been fantastic in preventing sweeps, or Water Absorb if you want to try and absorb water attacks, I guess. But I think he's brought Unaware pretty much every time he's brought it. Quagsire is surprisingly bulky, really. For an NU pick, it's been very hard to take down all season with the ability to recover off and get skull burns and stuff like that. But overall, I think the defensive Pokemon of the year is Milotic. And that's because in week 1, when Shady brought Mirror Coat Milotic, that just terrified people. Because now, every time you have a strong special attacker in against it, you go, is it going to be carrying Mirror Coat? Because you could either take a chunk of 70% of Milotic's health, or die, and then you die, or switch out and just let it continue to be alive, which is what it really does. That ability to recover up, fire off with Stab Scald, which is one of the best defensive moves in the game, getting those burns, and it's just been fantastic for Shady, honestly. It's been very, very hard to take out. It fits in really well with his defensive core, with that bulky Superior, Rotom Heat, and this thing. It's just a very, very nice core to be able to work into your teams, and Milotic has been his go-to wall for most of the opposition's mons. I really look forward to seeing what it can do in the playoffs. Now I'm going to move on to the 7th Pokemon of the year, and these are mons that have been not brought every game. I think the limit is they have to be brought to a maximum of 5 games throughout the season, but when they have come, they've put in a lot of work. And the mons that I think should be nominated are Sigilyph, Vileplume, Scavalier, Ambipom, and Mesprit. Now, Sigilyph was a free agent pickup for the New Orleans Pelipers, and John's fallen in love with this thing. The Magic Guard has been really useful, so it can be Magic Guard Sash, just as a panic button in case things go wrong. It gets good special attack, good speed, and it's done really, really well for the Pelipers late in this season. Now, Vileplume is another free agent pickup, this time for the St. Louis Rampardos, and he just put in so much work for A-Drive. He brought Sun Sweeper Vileplume to try and deal with Shady's team, and for 7th Pokemon of the year, I don't think there's anything better than getting a 3-1 performance against your division rival. Now, Escavalier for the Real Maril has been fantastic for him. He's only brought it, I think, twice, but each time it's been able to switch into the thing that it needed to and just fire off really powerful hits back. It's got very nice stat spread, except for that appalling speed. But when you've got a team like the Real Maril with so many fast Pokemon, you don't need max speed on everything. Ambipom has been a real surprise this season. It was the first season it's ever been drafted, and it's put in a lot of work. A lot of people weren't expecting it to, and I think it managed to get 7 KOs in 3 games or something like that, which is really just quite incredible. It gets a lot better coverage than people expected, and it gets some nice support moves with things like Nasty Plot, and Fake Out's really handy to have around, Stab Fake Out. And lastly, there is Mesprit for Gym Leader Geo and the San Francisco Giants. A lot of people call it a poor man's Mew, but it's really done quite a lot for Geo. He's generally brought a more offensive one to deal, it's got very, very good coverage. It can deal with specific threats quite well, and it's been one of the better mons for the Giantes this season. But all of that said, I think 7th Pokemon of the Year is Escavalier. Like I said before, the standard Assault Vest set has been really useful for having switch-ins to things. It's got a fairly bulky typing, again only one weakness, even though it is a quad weakness, and quite a few resists and immunities. It's got a really, really nice attack stat, base 135, allowing it to pick up 4 KOs in just 2 games, which is one of the better ratios out there. And it's got really nice coverage, which is very underrated in this format. Coverage is everything. And the ability to run like Knockoff, Pursuit, Ironhead, Drill Rum, Mega Horn, list goes on. Escavalier has been really great for the Marill, and I look forward to seeing it put in the last little bit of work in the playoffs. Now this is arguably the most important, or the biggest category, and that is most valuable Pokemon. The candidates for this one, as you can see on screen, are Weavile, Mega Sableye, Victini, Goodra, and Azelf. Weavile is one of the favourites for the MVP this season. It's got the best kill to death ratio of any mon in the league. Alvone's been using it fantastically. It was really underrated at the start of the season and has just put in incredible work. Mega Sableye has been great for A-Drive, being both a physical wall, a defensive or especially a defensive wall. You can run either, and being able to hit back really, really hard. It's done some things which people didn't expect, like bringing Adamant Sucker Punch to take out Azelf, that kind of thing. Mega Sableye has just been fantastic all season. Victini has been Miguel's go-to plug, and by that I mean if he has a problem that he just can't deal with in any other way, he brings Victini. It can be specially offensive, physically offensive, and fire off nukes with V-Create, Bolt Strike, Focus Blast. It's got one of the best offensive move pools in the game, and it's also got fantastic natural bulk with base 100 stats all round, and that good high base 100 speed. Goodra, Geo has been using this mon better and better throughout the season. It's been brought pretty much every week, I think, for Geo, and has finished up with, sitting up there on the kill to death ratio list. It has died quite a lot, but it did what it needed to. It got quite a few KOs as well. It's got ridiculously good special bulk. He's brought defensive setup a couple of times. I would have preferred to see Curse rather than Acid Armor personally, but that's just me. And yeah, Goodra's just been really great on that pseudo rain team that Geo has. And lastly, you have Azelf. Again, fantastic offensive coverage. Just moves all over the place to hit whatever you need to super effectively. And Shady's been using it really well. It's got great, really high speed, and can take on quite a few threats. But all of that said, I think the MVP of this season is Mega Sableye. It's been pretty much the only thing in the league that has been both one of the biggest offensive threats and the hardest walls to take down. It's just fantastic to watch. The only game A-Drive has lost all season, he did not bring Mega Sableye. Now I'm not saying it's because he didn't bring Mega Sableye, but it could have put in work that game, I think. It was one of the centerpieces of his team, forming that incredible wall core with Chansey, and it still ended up quite high on the KD list. Finished 12th overall. I think it was actually equal 11th, but and that includes a game with no kills because of a forfeit. So Mega Sableye has been fantastic really this season, and it's been great to watch it be used so well. It was kind of like the glue that held the Rampardos together at times. It allowed A-Drive to pick up so much momentum, being able to switch into so many different types of attacks and just fire back with some powerful moves. Now lastly, this is one of my favourite categories, is Coach of the Year. And the coaches that I think have been best all year are Mega Mogwai, Shady Penguin, Mulvone, A-Drive, and Cooper. Now Miguel, Mega Mogwai, if you don't know him and you're somehow watching this, that blows my mind, honestly. His channel's really building well. He's nearing that 10k mark. He's, in my opinion, the best competitive battler on YouTube. He just identifies win conditions so well. He prepares like no one else I've ever seen before. His team building is just phenomenal, and it's really hard to see anyone else winning the championship at the end of this season. I think he deserves it more than anyone, and I look forward to seeing how well he goes in the playoffs. Now Shady Penguin has really improved since the last couple of seasons. He started bringing some much more creative sets, and it's really been great to see him get into the GBA so much more, give it a little bit more priority, even though he's got those 2 uploads a day pressuring him quite a bit, and commentating at Pokemon Nationals, all sorts of stuff. But it's been great to see Shady improve. He drafted a lot better, he's been using his team a lot better, and I feel like he could go a long way. Maybe not this season, I feel like he won't be able to beat Miguel, but maybe he improves his draft just a little bit. I think he could be the top team in the league. Now Mulvone was thrown in the deep end, brought in for the first time in this format, never played anything like it before, and he adapted so well. He's one of the few coaches who actually play tests his teams against friends to see how they'll go, and it's been really great to watch him play. I personally underestimated him, so did a lot of other people at the start of the season. I hadn't seen much of him. He didn't look like a fantastic battler, but he has proved all of us wrong. He has battled really, really well, used some underrated threats quite well, like sub-bulk up Gallade, and has just been putting on a show all season. Now A-Drive has improved again so much since Season 3. I think when Season 3 kind of all finished up, he was 3-3. Well, this season he went 9-1, which is astounding, really. He drafted exceptionally well, apart from some very questionable NU picks, but you know, the OUs that he picked were fantastic. They all meshed really well together, and it's been great watching him play. He's been really getting into the GBA. He's brought a lot of new fans to it because he's got such a big sub base. And yeah, I expect him potentially to win the Sinnoh Conference. Last, we have Cooper. This is the only one of this list who's not in the playoffs, but I honestly think he could have been. I think he threw it away on purpose because he has so much respect for John, who got hacked out of a couple of games, honestly. And Cooper, you either love or you hate. Personally, I love him. I think he's really creative. He brought some things no one else would even consider, like Life Orb, Blissey, or Scarf, Jolly, Aggron, and he's got some of the most hilarious commentary. He had that famous, or infamous, more 6-6 timer stall in the middle of the season. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about Cooper. He's just one of those guys. He's been fantastic all season. He knows how to play his team, and that's what I like to see. But I personally think the Coach of the Year is Mulvone, and that's because he had one of the weaker drafts in the season. He was ranked 12th out of 12 in the post-draft power rankings. A lot of people didn't think he would do very well at all, but he's now one of the teams that people think could actually win this thing, could win the whole tournament. No, not tournament, whole season. He was brand new to this format when the draft came along, and I think he didn't really understand what he needed. Well, looking to next season, I suspect he will, and he's going to be much harder to beat next season. He's been playing exceptionally well with the threats that he drafted, and I think he surprised a lot of us. Now, with all that said, I'm going to finish up there. Thank you guys for watching. I will leave all the links to all the GBA stuff in the description. You can go to the channel, find all the coaches from there. Like I said before, some of the best content on YouTube. I'm going to continue making this type of video throughout the playoffs and possibly next season into the D-League, depending on whether or not we get picked for that or not. You know, I applied, but so did 3/4 of the rest of the Pokemon community, so that's going to be a tough one. But in any case, stay tuned for more. Subscribe to my channel if you do want to see more GBA analysis, showdown lives, all sorts of stuff. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next upload.